Since the release of the S5II from Panasonic, there have been thousands of YouTube reviews, unboxings, autofocus tests and tech spec videos, but I wanted to give you my top 10 reasons why I think this makes the perfect camera for wedding filmmakers. Today's video is sponsored by MusicBed, my favorite place for all of the best music for my wedding films. Stay tuned towards the end of this video for an exclusive discount code from MusicBed. Now, as I'm sure you've already heard, this is the first time that Panasonic have introduced phase detect autofocus to their camera bodies, and it's a massive improvement from the previous method, which was a contrast-based autofocus. Because the contrast-based autofocus was quite unreliable in previous bodies, I actually adopted manual focus and also using LiDAR-based systems with my gimbal to kind of bridge the gap between manual focus and autofocus. Having used this for a couple of weddings late last year and then also this year, I can comfortably say that I would trust the autofocus system as far as weddings go. The top 3 modes that I use for the autofocus are the single point AF, so I can actually drag with my finger on the screen and choose where I want the focus point to be set. That is really good for shooting things like details. I also really like the tracking mode, so you can actually touch on the screen to track an object as you move around. But the main one that I use, and I'm using now for this video, is Zone AF. So this essentially puts like an oval shape on the screen, and the detection that you set, whether that be face detect, human or animal autofocus, will stick within that zone. So I think this is really important for wedding filmmakers where you've maybe got a bride or a groom coming down the aisle towards you and there are members of the wedding party on either side of the aisle. You just want to keep that autofocus in the predefined zone in the center so that the face detection doesn't jump to a guest randomly. So yeah, zone autofocus is probably going to be the mode that I'm going to be using the most, especially for those kind of scenarios. And you can actually just drag and resize the zone with your finger on the back of the monitor, so you can be completely in control of where the camera is going to be looking for faces. You can adjust the sensitivity and the speed of the autofocus in the autofocus settings as well. The amount of times I've said the word autofocus is freaking me out a little bit. I also use the full area, so if I'm just kind of shooting generally nothing in particular, then I'll put it on full area and kind of point the camera when that should pick up what I think should be in focus. Okay, well that's enough about autofocus. The next best feature I think on the S5II is the real-time LUT feature. So now you can actually load your own custom LUTs in cube format directly into the camera via the SD cards. Now what this means is that you'll be shooting video or photo in Vlog, but you'll also be able to bake in the LUT look directly into your camera footage. One thing to mention though is that this is non-reversible, so if you're shooting in JPEG or you're shooting video and you've got the real-time LUT picture profile option on, the footage is going to be baked with that LUT in and you can't remove it in post, so just remember that. The downside though, and I did do another video covering this topic, is that you can only pick one LUT to put over the top of the Vlog footage. So what you need to remember is that normally when you're shooting in Vlog, you're going to be using a conversion LUT first to convert that from log to Rec 709, and then you're going to put your LUT on top of that. So I've made a handy video that I'm going to link up here that you'll be able to watch to see how I combine 2 LUTs in Photoshop to then load that straight into the camera. One of the most overlooked and underrated features I think for the S series cameras are the amount of prime lenses available from Panasonic, all f1.8 ranging from 18 all the way up to 85 at the moment, and they are pretty much all the same weight, same size, same footprint. This is the 85 here, but the 18, 24, 35, 50 and 85 all share pretty much the same dimensions, and this is really useful if you're shooting on a gimbal or you have the cameras on harness side-by-side shooting weddings. You don't have to worry about the 35mm, which are normally massive, taking up loads of space in your kit bag. They're light, they're really quick to swap without rebalancing on a gimbal. So even just having access to that set of prime lenses, I don't think there's another camera manufacturer that offers that kind of consistency between their prime lenses, and for the price I think they're pretty good. Stabilization in Panasonic cameras has always been pretty good. With the S5II, they're introducing the Active IS system. Now, the Active IS system is primarily designed to reduce that kind of stepping motion that you get when you're filming and walking. So Active IS, I think, for weddings, if you're following your couple, doing couple portraits, and you want to get like a smooth shot of them walking, you should see much less stepping motion as you walk and shoot at the same time. I can't stress enough how much unlimited recording will save your bacon as a wedding filmmaker, because there are times when you're going to be setting up to shoot the speeches or the ceremony, and if you've got a camera that has a 30-minute limit, sometimes you're going to be stuck. If you're shooting solo like me, I want to be able to press record on the camera and kind of just walk away and let the camera do its job whilst I'm filming another angle. So now having the unlimited recording, even up to 6K, is a very, very, very welcome benefit of the S5II. That unlimited recording is assisted by the built-in active cooling system. So it's got a fan. You can't really see the vents, but there is a fan in there. And that means that you can shoot, as long as you have battery and memory card space, you can just keep going indefinitely. So that is an absolute result. So if you ever shot a wedding in the summer or in a hot country and your camera is overheated, I guarantee you it will overheat at the wrong time. So yeah, having a built-in fan means that it can just keep going, keep rolling. I don't have to worry about it overheating during a crucial moment. So yeah, it's nice to be able to just take this wherever I'm shooting weddings and not have to worry about stopping or losing footage. Well, I am currently sat in my new studio, which, as you can see, is not quite finished yet. There's absolutely no windows or doors in, which is probably why there's a lot of wind blowing noise, and I can hear someone cutting a hedge as well. So I did try to give you a little preview, but I think what I'm going to do is head back to my old office and give you a word from today's sponsor, MusicBed. What's the worst thing that can happen when you're trying to finalize a wedding film? Maybe you could spill an energy drink all over your keyboard, or your computer crashes and you lose all of your hard work. I know that one of the most frustrating things when you're trying to get a wedding video finished is finding the perfect soundtrack for your masterpiece. You need something unique, something that captures the spirit of the day, something that truly stands out, and that is where MusicBed comes in. MusicBed is like a wedding filmmaker's secret weapon with their curated roster of over 1,000 authentic and relevant artists, so you're never going to be stuck by finding the perfect song for any moment of the day. They have over 40,000 songs available for licensing, so you'll never again have to settle for generic music. And finding what you need is easy with their browse and search tools built with filmmakers in mind, from genre to mood and even advanced filters like beats per minute and key. And the best part, you can even check out playlists from some of your favourite filmmakers and creatives, so you know you're going to be getting tracks that are tried and tested. And after all that, if you still need help finding the perfect tune, their team can help you with a complimentary song search. So if you want your projects and films to really stand out, then try MusicBed. Hear the difference yourself and sign up for a free account. Use code RussellNichols23 at the checkout to receive 1 month free when you purchase any annual subscription. Thank you to MusicBed for sponsoring this video. Let's head straight back now, and hopefully in the next video I'll see you in my new studio. Dual card slots, really important if you're shooting weddings. You want to make sure that you've got that footage backed up. So there's different methods of using the 2 card slots in the S5II. You can either have it relay record, so it will record from one card and then the next. I personally prefer to have the dual backup, so it's going to record to both cards at the same time, so that if, God forbid, anything should go wrong, you've got another copy. I'm just going to leave him to do his thing. At weddings, you will probably be faced with tricky lighting conditions like low lit dance floors, sparklers, fireworks, that type of thing. But thankfully, I think the S Series low light capabilities are pretty good, especially with the dual native ISO. Even shooting in Vlog, you can still get quite clean images at very high ISO levels. So the low light is definitely an underappreciated feature in the Panasonic S Series bodies. So my main role as a wedding filmmaker is to turn up to my couples' weddings and create them the most amazing, beautiful widescreen film for their memories, but I'm also my own social media manager. So if I'm using the 6K open gate feature in the LUMIX S5II, it means that I can record the full height and width of the camera sensor. Then I can then take that content and reframe it and use it in, for example, 9:16 ratio reels for my own marketing, and also reframe it to Instagram posts, whilst being able to also deliver the 16:9 content directly to my couples. This camera supports up to 4 channels of audio with the optional XLR adapter. That's really good if you have got multiple people speaking during speeches, or during the ceremony. If you have people giving a reading, you can also then microphone the couple as well as the celebrant. Not a lot of people know that these cameras can also be powered by USB-C. So if you've had a very long ceremony and you've got speeches coming up, you could always connect a USB-C power bank or a V-mount battery connected to your tripod, and the camera will charge and power directly via USB-C. You do need to make sure though that there is a battery in the camera for this to work. I do wish that there were more wedding photographers using LUMIX. There are incredible video features in these cameras, but they're also just as good for photography as well. So hopefully now with the new autofocus in the future, I'll be working alongside a lot of photographers with S5IIs. I think at its price point, the S5II represents excellent value for money for wedding filmmakers, but there are a few things I would like to see in the next version of the S1 or S1H, whichever direction Panasonic decide to go in. I'd love to see the inclusion of an electronic ND filter of some sort. I have a electronic variable ND in another camera body that I use, and I find it really useful to not have to keep switching ND filters on the lens to keep that depth of field. Another thing that I'd really love to see improved is the ability to keep the tracking feature of the autofocus in 6K when you're connecting a USB-C remote or HDMI cable. At the moment, I'm using the RS3 Mini from DJI. When I'm shooting in 6K and I plug the gimbal into the camera, unfortunately, you lose the tracking modes. The same goes for an external monitor. So I'd love to be able to see Panasonic improve that and keep those autofocus tracking modes enabled in 6K, even when you've got something connected to the camera. So I used to shoot a lot on the LUMIX S1. I really loved the size and shape of that camera. I also really enjoyed using the CF Express card slot. I found that it was able to offload to my computer much faster. The read and write speeds were a lot faster as well. So I would really like to see the return of the CF Express card slot. I would really welcome that addition for the speed benefits. I'd also love to see improvements to the real-time LUT feature. At the moment, I feel like it's kind of hindered with the fact that you have to shoot in log and you can only shoot with 1 LUT applied. So I'd love the ability to load 2 LUTs in and be able to stack those, or at least give the option to use a conversion LUT first and then your own creative LUT on top of that in camera. I guess the last feature that I'd like to see improved on the next camera would be no crop in 4K 50 and 60. At the moment, if you're shooting in 4K 50 or 60 frames a second, you have to accept 1.5 times crop. So I'd love to be able to record in full frame at those higher frame rates. So yeah, those are my top 10 favorite things about the new LUMIX S5II, specifically from a wedding filmmaker's perspective. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you've got any questions about the LUMIX S5II or wedding filmmaking or anything you think I can help you with, feel free to leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.